Good
Good
morning.
morning. Welcome to
Good
Coffee with
morning.
Pastors. Today is Friday, and so you know what that means. It's another one of our Getting to Nova interviews. And so today, Getting to Nova is Jim Grossnickle Batterton from the Lititz Church of the Brethren.
He's promoting Brethren Life and Thought today.
I am. I also happen to be the chair of the board of Brethren Life and Thought. So I did put some Brethren Life and Thought into what I was drinking out of this morning.
Well done. Well done.
We should probably swap mugs then. Audrey's the vice chair of the Bethany Seminary.
That's true.
Board, so. Boy, these are really smart people I'm joining today. Huh?
Yeah. What are you in charge of?
Absolutely nothing.
Lucky you. Lucky you.
That's right. Well, we've known Jim since 2011, right? We started seminary at the same time and graduated at the same time.
That's correct.
So
we lived in the same building for chunks of that time, whether it be weekend or 2-week intensives or a whole semester at one point.
I remember the very first time that I met Tim and Audrey. We were sitting in our first ministry formation, getting to know you class, and as we were going around introducing ourselves, Tim and Audrey talked about having just been married and hyphenating their last name and chuckled about how long it was. And then when things got around to me, I said, well, you made a nice try at a long last name, but I think that Grossnickle Batterton is going to win.
And it did.
And it did, yeah.
Yeah, I think we were commiserating about the difficulty of getting our names to fit on our licenses.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yep.
Well, Jim, welcome to Coffee with the Pastors. As you know, the routine as an avid Coffee with the Pastors watcher, of course.
Of course.
We've got a few questions that we move through before our quiz at the end. But let's start.
I did do some prep for the quiz too. I've been rereading Gonzalez's Essential Theological Terms.
I think mine's over here on the shelf.
As well as McGrath's Historical Theology. So
you should be really well
prepared. I'm ready.
Well, Jim, tell us just a little bit, first of all, just what you love about pastoral ministry.
So I'm sort of a little bit of a latecomer. This is sort of a second career. Some might even say like a third or fourth vocation for me. One of the things that has been consistent, though, through all of the jobs or vocations that I've had has been serving other people. And so that's really, I think, what most draws me into pastoral ministry. I think one of the things that I said to the Lititz congregation when I was interviewing, and somebody was kind of asking what sort of unique perspective maybe that I bring on things. I spent about 10 years doing homeless ministry in San Antonio and working with a lot of different justice causes there. And so I said, I have really come to understand myself as being a bit of a justice evangelist, meaning that I am really trying to promote the part of the gospel that calls us to take our faith outside the church building and into the streets, and that dangerous, dirty work of getting involved in other people's lives. So that's really what I think is most life-giving for me for pastoral ministry, is helping people figure out how to act out their faith outside the church building.
Yeah, yeah. So then your specific title at Lititz is Pastor of Spiritual Care.
Correct.
Right? So some of that work gets tied up in there? Because typically, I mean, I hear spiritual care, and often what's going to go off in my mind is visitation ministry, crisis ministry, that kind of thing, right?
Right. And so that certainly is a big part of of what I do. So right now that looks very, very different than, you know, I'm mostly spending a fair bit of my time with a phone attached to my ear. But yeah, for the most part, I'm the primary person who is doing a lot of the whether it's hospital visits or in-home visits, nursing home visits, that sort of thing. That's certainly a part of it, and as well as crisis care. I think that the way that we understand spiritual care at the Lititz Church of the Brethren, though, goes a little bit beyond that. Fortunately, because we have a pretty active group of deacons who really supplement that. Like I'm maybe not even the number one visitor in the church. Like we have some deacons who are out there a lot doing that. And so them together as a group, they're certainly outpacing me, which is good because, you know, it does free me up to be able to do some other things. So sort of immediately from the get-go, we looked at putting together some different types of services. So for instance, you know, I do a longest night service the 21st of December every year. I've toyed around with a Blue Christmas service earlier in the month. We've, you know, done Vespers services at various times, different kind of call to action prayer services, that sort of thing. And so that all of that kind of gets wrapped up. Like it's some Christian education, it is some visitation, it is some helping people to know what some of the needs are in the rest of the community, and really trying to activate them, like I say, to get active in their faith, so that faith is not just limited kind of to that hour or two on Sunday morning.
Yeah. Or faith isn't limited to me, right? And so
right.
The whole idea of spiritual care sometimes becomes, well, it's about you giving me a service, right? Rather than us tending to spiritual needs that exist all around us. And
and I think the way that I understand it kind of more broadly is that it's frankly a very brethren thing, is a very Anabaptist pietist thing, discipleship. It's not that solely like I show up on Sunday morning for the worship service and I come in and I sit down almost as if I'm sitting down in front of a TV at home or going to a concert. Like I'm there just to consume everything. And occasionally they ask me to read along with, you know, the call to worship, or we all say the Lord's Prayer together. And that is maybe literally the extent of my actual involvement. But when the, not just the pastor, but also the worship leader or somebody who is leading prayer time is asking me to actively get involved in this thing or that thing, whether it is, you know, whether it is talking about how we can reach out to immigrants in our community, or even down on the border, or it's figuring out how do we get involved in Black Lives Matter marches, or just from a very basic understanding of getting myself a little bit more educated on what some of these issues are. Now I say all that, there is some risk involved too, because as pastor of a congregation that is, we like to say, sort of a snapshot of the denomination. So the political and theological views are literally from one end of the spectrum to the other. It gets a little bit, there's a tightrope to be walked sometimes. And, you know, one of my, so I'll say the flip side of what I most enjoy about pastoral ministry is, one of the real struggles for me is I would really like to be out there, out in front of things. If there is, for instance, a rally promoting welcome for refugees. Lancaster County, Pennsylvania has the highest per capita number of refugees in the United States.
Really?
We've been a welcome from literally from the time of the Brethren and Amish coming in. We have been a place for people seeking refuge. And it is, it's now a pretty political statement to say, yeah, we want to welcome refugees into not just our community, but we have a congregation that has been personally welcoming to refugees.
Awesome. I feel like we're getting at this last question already, but just what are some of the things that make ministry there at Lititz so special for you? I mean, we're hearing some of this immigrant ministry, but what other kinds of things, Jim? Or is there something in particular?
I mean, I think there's a number of things. I mean, immigration is kind of on my mind because, as I said, I lived in San Antonio for a while. I still have a lot of connections to that particular issue. One of the things that I really struggled with just before Easter was I was supposed to be leading a trip of people from my congregation and 2 other local Brethren congregations down to San Antonio on a learning tour. And like literally the couple of nights before we were deciding to stop the very first worship service that we stopped, we were deciding to not go on that trip. So that's been kind of on the forefront of my mind. I think just more broadly though, because of who Eric and I are, so Eric Landrum, the other pastor at Lititz, the 2 of us, hospitality is very much at the top of our list of, I mean, they're buzzwords for us, and they get applied in a variety of different ways to everything that we try to do. And so for us, it's always about finding another way to extend the table. So I've talked in the past about both sets of my grandparents were very, very hospitable people. And my one set of grandparents, you never knew when you showed up at their house, and I was there a lot, you never knew who was going to be at the dinner table. You never knew who was going to be spending the night there, because that's who my grandparents were. And my grandparents had a dining room table that had like 6 leaves that could be put in the middle of it. So, and I've seen all 6 in there. And so I've sometimes said, I want to be a pastor who is always looking for where can we find another leaf for this table.
I love it.
And it even further, because frankly, we're not really the hosts. We too are guests at this table of Christ's. So I think I have been really excited and energized to see the number of different ways that we have found to do that. So I've mentioned immigration and refugees. We're sort of making some baby steps into some of those areas. A place that we are making and trying to make a much bigger footprint is with the Treehouse Playground that is soon to be built. It will be a fully accessible playground. Kids of all different abilities will be able to access basically the entire playground. And what we're hopeful is that this is another way that the community sees us as being hospitable to the community. This is not a, hey, we want to have some sort of a tent revival and bring a bunch of new members into the church. We want this to be a welcome mat, to say everybody is welcome to come and enjoy this playground that we want to make sure we're sharing with everybody.
Yeah. Cool. Very cool. Well, I think it's that exciting moment in Coffee with the Pastors, Jim, where the pop quiz.
Pop quiz that you had no idea was coming.
Okay.
This is the mildly heretical part of Coffee with the Pastors, where we give you a theological term and ask you to define it. And these are often really tricky theological terms.
But I have faith. I mean, I think your time in San Antonio might actually help you with this word. And let me preface by saying, There's kind of two generally agreed upon ways to spell it. So I'll say it and then I'll spell it both ways for you so that you can get a sense of how to break it apart, and that might help. So the word is Theotokos. So one way to spell it is Theotakos. But another agreed upon way to spell it is Theotacos.
Okay.
Yeah. So give us your best shot at that, Jim.
Well, so I can tell you, by the way, oddly enough, Gonzalez does not cover this. Yeah, I know. I'm shocked too. But I have actually looked that word up in there before, and it was not there. I can tell you though, the difference between the K and the O is the K is the Greek spelling, and the C is the Latin spelling.
Mm-hmm.
But literally what this means is God's food for the soul. And it's sometimes confused with a term that St. John Chrysostom used, taquitos al pastorius, which means the soul food for the little shepherd. But actually Theotokos, I think was first talked about by one of the desert fathers, San Antonio Sauerberger, who was a brother and desert father. And he first identified Theotokos as the miraculous food that Jesus fed to the street vendors. Now there's another take on this too, because he was kind of breaking away from the followers of Santa Maria Stoltzfus. And those followers contend that this was actually the first solid food the Virgin Mary fed to the baby Jesus. It was a tortilla with refried beans and goat cheese. Now, what I find really fascinating about this is that when this break happens, the bishops have to call what's known as the Cilantro Council of 557, where they declared goat cheese and tacos a heresy. Now, many of us believe that goat cheese on tacos is heavenly, even in some way, but it is actually still officially a heresy. And then there's also the famous spiritual saying that comes out of Theotokos, which is, judge not the street taco by its taqueria, but judge the taqueria by its street taco.
Oh, that is very wise.
Yeah.
Wow.
That is a word to live by.
Oh my goodness. I am enthralled. I need to go read some more of the Desert Father, San Antonio. What's his last name?
Sauerberger.
Okay. I gotta go read some more of him. Yeah. That's phenomenal. And I would expect nothing else from the president of Brethren Life and Thought.
Yeah, to know that in depth about Theotokos.
Well, for those of you who don't already subscribe, you can make a subscription, and perhaps something like this will appear on its pages at some point in time.
Perhaps.
Yeah, I'm thinking that's a hard no, but.
Well, you do know the editor well enough to know that she doesn't put up with a lot of nonsense.
I was about to say.
You guys could have a Brethren Life and Thought Heresy edition.
Oh yeah. I think though, I'm all for mild heresy, but really with my Theotokos, I need like at least medium heresy, if not hot heresy. So we need to up the volume on that a little bit, I think.
Yeah. All right, we'll take that up with Denise. Yeah.
I think we can call that an A+.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Well done.
Well, Jim, nice to have you in Nova for the morning.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of an early lunch. Anybody else?
I know, right? I think I'm ready for tacos. I don't know why.
Hey, that sounds great. I've got some corn tortillas waiting on me.
All right.
See you in Lititz in a few.
That's
All right. We'll be here. Thanks again.